The creators who actually sustain growth past Q1 aren't the ones with the most ambitious New Year plans. They're the ones who planned for the version of themselves that shows up in March when the motivation is gone and the algorithm isn't helping. Because there are two versions of you, January. You energized, optimistic, ready to finally crack the consistency code, and February. You tired, behind, questioning everything. One of these people is real, and you've been planning for the wrong one. If you've set New Year creator goals and watched them collapse by spring, this isn't about discipline. It's not even about time management. It's about something more fundamental. You keep designing systems for a version of yourself that only exists 4 weeks a year. I did this for 3 years straight. Same January energy, same March burnout, same guilt spiral, until I realized the goals weren't the problem. Who I was making them for was? Here's the pattern. January hits, fresh start energy. You open a planning doc and it all feels possible this time. 3 uploads per week, daily shorts, professional thumbnails. You can see it clearly. The version of you who executes perfectly, who finally breaks through. Week 1 is solid. Week 2, you're tired but managing. Week 3, something slips. Client deadline, got sick. Life happened. Suddenly you're behind, and this is where it gets brutal. You don't just miss uploads, you internalize it as failure. Couldn't even make it 3 weeks. What's wrong with me? By March, you've either quietly abandoned everything or you're forcing yourself through videos you resent making. And here's what nobody says. This cycle isn't motivation failure. It's planning failure. You built a system for January, you, the person with energy, time, and optimism, but that person shows up maybe 12 days a year. The rest of the time, you're February, you, August, you, November, you, tired, overwhelmed, doing your best with what you actually have. And if your goals don't account for that person, they're not ambitious. They're just bad math. The platform's entire incentive structure depends on you never figuring this out. YouTube needs you to believe consistent, high-frequency posting is achievable for everyone. Because if you realized it isn't, if you planned for actual energy levels, actual life circumstances, actual human capacity, you'd post less. Less content means less inventory for the algorithm. The system doesn't want sustainable creators. It wants high output until burnout, because there's always another creator ready to replace you in January. Here's the shift that changes everything. Good goals don't motivate January. Good goals protect February. Because February, you is who actually executes February. You doesn't have motivation, February. You has responsibilities, fatigue, and reality. February, you need systems that work anyway. This isn't lowering standards, it's raising completion rates, because what actually compounds in this game? Finished goals, not impressive goals, not ambitious goals. Finished goals that you actually complete. The creator who sets a small goal and hits it 12 months straight will outperform the creator who sets a huge goal and quits in March every single time. I proved this to myself the hard way. 2022 planned 3 videos per week, made it 6 weeks, burned out, produced nothing for 4 months. 2023, same plan, same crash. 2024 changed everything, planned for February, me from day one, and that was the first year I actually sustained. Here's how you do this. The February test. 3 steps. Run every 2026 goal through this before you commit to anything. Step 1. State audit. Look at your actual calendar. Find your worst months from 2025. For most people, that's February, August, November. February is the post-holiday crash. August is summer chaos or client surge. November's holiday prep season. Write down what those months actually looked like, not what you wish they looked like. Actual reality. How many videos did you make? How much time did you have? What was your energy level? That's your baseline, not January. February. Step 2, minimum viable goal. Take your ambitious 2026 goal, cut it in half, then cut it in half again. You're looking for the smallest version that still moves you forward. If your goal is 3 uploads per week, Your minimum viable might be 2 per month. I can feel the resistance. That's only 24 videos a year. Right, 24 videos you'll actually make versus 156 you'll plan, hate yourself over, and abandon by April. When I made this shift, something unexpected happened. My minimum viable goal was 2 videos monthly with quarterly breaks built in. I ended up making 30 videos that year. Because good months I made 3 or 4. Bad months I had permission to make 2 without feeling like a failure. The goal was protection, not pressure, and that mindset shift changed everything. Step 3, protection protocols. Build emergency exits into the goal itself. What happens when you get sick, when crisis hits, when you just can't? If your only option is breaking the goal, you'll internalize that as personal failure. Instead, schedule breaks. 1 week off each quarter. Not if you need it. Scheduled, non-negotiable on the calendar. And here's the controversial piece. Build in permission to adjust. If June arrives and 2 monthly videos is crushing you, you can change it to 1. Goals aren't prison sentences. They're tools. Broken tools get replaced. You don't break yourself trying to use broken tools. That's not weakness. That's being honest about what February you actually needs to survive this. Let me show you what this looks like in practice. Early 2024, I ran an experiment. Set 2 goals simultaneously. Goal A, 3 videos weekly every week. Goal B, 2 monthly videos, quarterly breaks built in. Goal A lasted 5 weeks, made 17 videos, got sick, missed a week, felt behind, pushed. Too hard catching up, burned out completely by March. Total 2024 output from that goal. 20 videos. Spent the rest of the year feeling like I'd failed. Goal B, made 30 videos across 12 months. Not because I was more disciplined, because the math worked for February me. Bad months, I could barely function and still hit the goal. Scheduled breaks meant rest without guilt. When August got chaotic, I made 1 video instead of 2, and it didn't break everything. And here's what surprised me. Channel grew faster with 30 intentional videos than it had the year before with 60 desperate ones because the energy was different. I wasn't creating from fear, I was creating because the system protected me long enough to remember why I started. This isn't about low standards, it's about standards that account for being human. Remember those 2 people I mentioned at the start, January? You will read this and think, okay, but I can probably do 3 monthly. January, you is wrong. January, you doesn't show up in August when everything's on fire. The version of you that exists in February, tired, overwhelmed, doing your best, that's who decides if you're still creating in December. If your goals don't protect that person, they're not ambitious. They're cruel. So here's what you do. Take your 2026 goals, the impressive ones, the ones you really believe will work this time. Run them through the February test. State audit. Would this work in your worst months? Minimum viable. What's the smallest version that still counts? Protection protocols. Where are your emergency exits? If you catch yourself thinking, this feels too easy, that's how you know you're finally planning for the person who actually has to do the work. This year doesn't have to be the same cycle, the burnout, the guilt, the abandoned goals, but only if you plan for February. You know the resolutions that burn creators out now, but here's the deeper question. How do you actually plan for February? You instead, because knowing the problem and having a system are different things. What the February test actually looks like in practice. If the next video's on screen, it breaks it down.